got a fight in a few days. It's a long time coming. It's been a while. How are you feeling? How's everything going?
Feeling great. Camp went and is going great. Yeah, I'm just excited to get this last part of it all done, and that's the fun part. So I'm excited to get in there and finally actually get this fight going and defend this title.
This will be your first fight since the end of 2020. It's a long time to go without a fight for a professional fighter, particularly after winning the title and you had all that momentum and stuff. I'm guessing this, has been tough for you at times. What have the challenges of this layoff been for you?
Yeah, man. It's been tough dealing with some injuries. Obviously, I had to have a few surgeries after the last fight to get this finger fixed. That's all fixed up. Back to normal, ready to fight, train, all that good stuff. So we finally had camp back up and going, and yeah, it's fight was supposed to happen late last year. That got pushed back, and then finally we're back into it. But yeah, it's had its ups and downs. But man, I love what I do. I love this job. So really, the longer I get to do it, the better, right? And then the longer I get to prepare for somebody, the worse it is for them. And I'm sure Gary feels the same way. So it's really cool to be able to get the best Gary in that cage, and he's definitely going to get the best time. And I'm excited to see how it turns out.
I'm definitely excited too. As you said, this fight has sort of been rumored and then booked and then canceled. You've been preparing for this for a long time, and the goalpost has sort of been moving further and further away at times. Has that been frustrating for you at all? Has it been difficult to kind of keep focus?
Not really. I mean, when you have a dangerous opponent like Gary, you're always motivated to get in there and get better. And the longer time frame I have to get better, it's worse for the other guy. So if I was a vampire, I'd be a 10 out of 10 in everything, and live 100 years and have the time to do build all those skills. But the longer I get, the better I become, and I don't waste time in the gym. I don't waste time, quote unquote, out of camp, or what these other guys may do. I train all year long consistently, and camp doesn't really change that for me much. So it's a pretty routine I have going on, and it's because I like it. I enjoy doing this every day, so it doesn't really make camps appealing. I just train all through the year, and I know Gary's a lifelong martial artist, and he kind of does the same thing. And, he might boost some things up for camp like I do, but he trains consistently. It's something that it's not hard to get motivated for, especially when you have a dangerous guy in front of you. And you should have been going through the same thing. More time to get better in your certain skill level that you're trying to build, and more time to develop little games and little strategies that you're trying to implement in the fight. And yeah, on the mental side of things, as far as keeping a positive mindset, and making sure that you don't lose track, lose focus. I've had a long career. It's definitely had some ups and downs, and some times where I thought I belonged in certain places and I didn't make it, and sometimes that I got the opportunity to fight for an organization that I love, and it turned out this way, and now I'm the champ. So it's you do things the right way, or what you perceive to be the best correct way at the time, and I think things eventually work out, and it's been a good ride, man.
As you said, you've had a lot of time to prepare for Gary and vice versa. I'm guessing at this stage you both feel like you know each other better than just about any opponent you've had before this. Would you say that's the case? Like you're better prepared for this fight than you have been for previous fights just because you've had so much time?
Yeah, yeah, I would definitely say that. As far as how I feel physically, how I feel mentally, how I feel approaching fight strategy, how I feel with the weapons that are going to be presented, how I feel with the way we're going to approach his dangers, and his attacks, and mine, and the defenses involved. Like it's been long, but man, it's just gotten things so airtight, and I'm sure he feels the same way. It's going to be a difficult fight for the other guy to win, and I feel the same way, and I know he feels the same way. That's why I'm really, really excited for this one.
Well, let's talk about Garry Tonon. This may be a newsflash to you, but he's actually quite good at grappling. Um, how have you been preparing for this guy's jujitsu? I mean, what have you been doing in the gym to get ready for him?
I mean, running through the same stuff. I'm always trying to develop my grappling. I've pretty much grapple more than I strike consistently for the past good clump of years. And then obviously, it's no secret that one of my main training partners is Ryan Hall, and I've been friends and training partners with him since our time on the Ultimate Fighter. And it happens to work out well that They're both a very specific look in grappling, and they tend to resemble each other a little bit, depending on how deep how deep you dig, obviously. But yeah, it's him and his team has helped me so much throughout the years, and I've tried to provide a little help myself, and it's been a very nice symbiotic, organic relationship that we've built. But with being in the gym with his team, him, the guys he brings in for camps and things like that, and what he's helped me develop as far as my game goes, it's kind of worked out pleasantly, to say the least. And I'm really excited for this. I'm very confident in this matchup, no matter where the fight goes. Obviously, Garry has a advantage in the grappling department. I have a advantage in the striking department, but he's not a slouch on the feet, and I'm not a slouch on the ground. So it's interesting to see how the old school, like striker versus grappler, old fights, style versus style matchup, but with this new mentality where obviously I spend a lot of time grappling. He spends a lot of time striking. So it's not just that one-sided affair. You're going to have a little mix, and it's not just going to be, well, if we strike, I win, and if we grapple, he wins. It's not that
Mhm.
black and white. And I think that is what really makes it interesting for the fans.
Right. Gary has made some pretty impressive strides in his stand up, particularly given how little time he's been doing this in the grand scheme. And people are talking about it. What do you think about the strides he's made on that side of his game?
I mean, he's definitely developed. He's paying attention to the right things throughout his fights without kind of revealing what we're kind of looking and focusing on. He's got the right path. He's got good coaches behind him. He's seeking out really good knowledge from the resources that he has. He's not a dumb guy. His team's not a dumb team. They're really good for a reason. Um, so yeah, he's made some good jumps. You just can't replace 30 years on the feet, and vice versa. We can't just expect to be training with Ryan Hall for 6 7 years and then yeah, I can just go grapple Garry Tonon in an 80cc match or something like that and expect to come out on top or tie this man. You know what I mean? So he's not stupid. I'm not stupid. We understand where we need to get this fight to and where we need to keep the fight in. And the battle and the fight's going to be won or lost on that. Where can we get it?
Mhm.
Where can we keep it? And then who's going to take advantage in the time frame?
It's clear that you're very focused on this fight, obviously, but just given the layoff you've had and the amount of time you've been focused specifically on Gary, I'm guessing you're also excited for the next chapter of your career. Have you given any thought as to who's next for you if you win this fight?
Yeah, absolutely. We had some guys that were in line. They were set to fight, and that fight didn't pan
Mhm.
out, right? So those two are fighting on the same card. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But I'm looking for a quick turnaround. If one of those guys wins and is ending up hurt, he's going to have to sit on the side. I want a quick turnaround. If and when I get past Garry, I'm looking to fight ASAP. I want to be right back in there defending this belt. This year layoff was some bullshit. I don't want to do that again. I want to fight. I want to stay active, defend this belt. Um, Obviously, we have some guys waiting for me at featherweight. I'm also looking at lightweight. We've talked about that before. I'm also looking to push these cross promotion fights. Everybody's trying to get all this cross promotion stuff going, but nobody's pulling the trigger, right? It's because we're all kind of looking up at the American market and the UFC, and man, leave those guys out of it. Let's get Bellator, PFL, all these other organizations involved. Let's all do a tournament. Let's beat the hell out of each other and see who's the best featherweight in the world is. And then if the UFC wants to throw some guy in the hat, we'll fight that guy too. But we don't need them to prove who's the best. We need to do this. We need to do this cross promotion stuff to set the standard so it can be the new norm.
Hmm. Oh, before we move on to other contenders in one championship, I want to ask you a bit about this co-promotion stuff. By your estimation, other than yourself, who are the best featherweights outside the UFC?
I mean, you're looking at the champs, obviously. Volkanovski, Holloway, those battles were awesome.
Hmm.
Um, Depending on how you judge the fight, obviously. But we've got Volk. You've got AJ McKee just knocked out Pitbull. Those two were two of the best featherweights in the world as well. And then PFL's had some changes with their title. So Lance, I know Lance is a buddy of mine, and he's very skilled fighter. So yeah, there's a rack of dudes who are at the top of the list, and they're dangerous and they hold belts. And I'd like to collect some of those.
I would like to see that happen. You mentioned that you're really focused on a quick turnaround, staying active. Hypothetically, assuming you win this fight with Gary, you're healthy, and there's somebody else who's healthy. One championship asks you to stay in Singapore and fight on that 10th anniversary show. You do
Let's
it?
go. Yes, 100%. Quick turnaround. You put me on the next day if you had to. I want a quick turnaround. I want to put these hands on somebody else.
I wanted to ask you about Kim Jae Woong, who is, of course, the number one contender in your division. You were alluding to him, I believe. What did you think of his win over Martin? I mean, what do you think of this guy?
He knocked out Martin with a nice little right hand that kind of looked a little familiar. Martin was loading up
Yeah.
on the big 1-2, I think, and ended up getting chip shotted and caught with a short right. Um, and that happened early in the fight. I think that says a little more about Martin's chin and his approach in that fight than it does about Kim. But I think he's a dangerous fighter. He's a good striker. Um, I obviously I'm confident in myself. I don't think those guys have the full array of weapons that I do. So if we do get matched up, if I do get past Gary, I'd love to be able to show these guys the full array of Tan Lee weapons if I could, and I don't think they'll be able to handle that.
When you look at that top five, who would you say the toughest challenge is for you? Is it Gary? Would it be Kim? Is it Martin? I mean, who's
It's
the
it's a
toughest?
very it's a very loaded question, right? Because you've got
Mhm.
the specialist tag on Gary, very very dangerous. Um, but there's a gap in the striking. So if we aren't able to see that specialist side of Gary, then it's going to be a tough fight for him, and it's not going to be an extremely high level of danger for me. But when it does, obviously it's going to be very dangerous. But the other guys are strikers, and they're well rounded as well. But they're primarily strikers. They've gotten some good knockouts, good sharp techniques on the feet, and that's where I think I could possibly stand out and show the rest of my MMA game, which we have yet to see, and nobody's really made me pull that out. But maybe it gets pulled out on one of those guys. But that's why I've spent so much time getting good at things like wrestling, grappling, clinch work, and fence work, and all this good stuff. Not only to defend it, but when I need to whip it out against these guys who are quote unquote, really good strikers, then I can take it anywhere. Um, with the Martin was obviously a dangerous fight. We saw how that fight went. I dominated for 2 rounds, but he was doing really well at the beginning, getting some momentum at the beginning of the third, and ended up getting knocked out. And that's what will get you knocked out versus me. But he also presented some problems, right? He wasn't going.
Mhm.
He was catching those punches on his forehead and catching them on the dome, so he wasn't catching them in a vulnerable spot to go to sleep. Um, that brings me kind of back to the Kim Jae Woong fight, where I think a lot of the damage that I dealt into this transferred over and maybe depleted
Right.
that chin more than he expected. But anyway, without veering off too bad, it's a loaded
Oh,
division. I'm excited
veer
to
away.
clear these dudes out. Yeah, I would chip these guys out one by one, and I'm glad I'm starting with Gary. And if and when I make it past him, we've got these other guys ready to go. And yeah, that's not the only division we're looking for, and that's not the only promotion we're looking for. It's going to be a busy, busy next couple of years.
Well, let's talk about other divisions you have mentioned before. This urge to go up to lightweight. So first of all, I mean, did you watch the Christian Lee and Okra Yoon title fight? And if so, what do you think of the scoring in that one?
Yeah, I did watch it live, and I thought Christian did enough to keep it. I kind of agree with most of what his sister was saying as far as the way the scoring goes and as far as what takes precedence, damage, submission threats, blah blah blah, and all the things that she detailed actually really well. And I kind of leaning towards her argument. So honestly, I thought Christian won. Obviously, I should go back and watch the fight to give you a black and white answer, but um, he ended up pulling out the decision, getting the win, and it was an exciting fight to watch. It was really exciting, and would love to end up in the cage with Christian, but Oak is a dangerous opponent as well, as he proved, and he's a very very interesting challenge as
Mhm.
well.
Safe to say you like your chances against both of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't think they're quite well rounded enough. They're very well rounded fighters, but I think the gaps in each of their specialties or I guess I should say the areas of striking and grappling are areas that I like to take advantage of. So I think it's gonna cause a problem with the way I move my body, the way I move my feet, and it's 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 always the great equalizer. You just can't get touched by me one time.
Mhm.
If I touch you once, you could possibly go to sleep and wake up facing those lights, and that's the Ngannou problem, right? Like you can be whooping his ass for 3 rounds, and he punches you once, you really have a chance to go to sleep, and that's a problem. And not only do I outpoint you, kick you, tag you up from the outside like a like an Adesanya, but I've got that one shot KO power too, which is a big problem for these guys.
As of the last couple of weeks, you're sharing this card with Bibiano Fernandez and John Lineker. Thoughts on that one?
All these fights are so difficult because they've got really good matchups. Like the matchmakers do a phenomenal job, but it's a hard call. I like Bibiano in this one. Um, Lineker's a dog, and he does have some hands of fucking stone. You know what I mean? But if I had to put money down, and based on what I've seen recently and the way these two guys play things out, I think Bibiano has this one.
Well, we're doing predictions then. I mean, how do you see your fight with Gary going? Any particular way you see this going down?
I think I'm gonna win. No, I obviously we're pulling the dub, and I think I knock him out, and I'm gonna save exactly how, but I think this fight goes up, down to the ground, on the fence. I think we get everywhere. I think we go everywhere in this fight, and I think I end up knocking him out fourth,
Okay.
possibly start of the fifth.
Okay. Assuming that's the way it goes after this layoff you've had and everything you've been through over the last couple of years, how sweet is that moment going to feel?
Oh man, it's as great and even greater than every other W I've gotten, and it's it's all about me doing what I love. It's all about me being the best version of me that I can be. This is a huge test that I wanted to have, whether I was champ or whether this happened in a parking lot or in a gym. This is a fight that needed to happen. This is something I needed for me. I don't care about who's watching or what we're fighting for. This fight needed to happen. I'm very, very excited for that. And yeah, it's all going to be a wonderful feeling at the end, win or lose, because I'm going to perform my absolute best, no matter what. And I'm not tied to a result. Obviously, I want to keep this belt, and because it gives me the best challenges. But I'm gonna go out there and perform my ass off, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Awesome, man. Last question before I let you go. Assuming it goes your way and you leave Singapore with that belt in your luggage, what do you hope to accomplish this year?
Man, this year I'm trying to fight as much as possible. So if I can get in there, I haven't fought 4 times in a year. I'd like to fight 4 times. We're fighting early this year. Maybe we can sneak a back to back in there, fight 4 times, defend this belt. And I want more than one belt. So let's defend this division, and I get a belt somewhere else. I don't care if it's Bellator's, UFC's, or the lightweight belt. We're going to get another
Ch-
one.
champ status by the end of this year?
Absolutely.